Hey, Steve Mignoni here at Bernardston Auto Wrecking in Bernardston, Massachusetts, doing the junkyard crawl. And this is something, well, kind of beautiful, kind of ugly, you call it. This is a 1977 Ford Ranchero GT. Now, this is an example of the 5th generation of Ranchero, which began in 1957. Now, these were made from 70 through 79, and with this bizarre stacked headlight arrangement here from 77 through 79. Now these things, you couldn't get a 6-cylinder except for on special order. The standard engine was a 302 2-barrel. That's what we have here. Okay, all right, this we can tell right away is either a 351 or the 400, which was an option. Now, 1976, the year before this car, you could still get the 460, but as the fuel emissions situation was exploding, the big block was gone after 1976. So this is the 351 with a 2-barrel carburetor. In fact, the emission sticker here on the side of the valve cover tells us 351 cubic inch displacement, and believe it or not, this has a whopping 148 horsepower. Hard to imagine, but something new for the late 70s with the aluminum air cleaner. This thing right here, kind of a weird little thing. It's not steel. It's all part of Ford's effort to reduce weight wherever possible, even on something as big as this full-frame Ranchero. Underneath it, well, there's going to be a 2-barrel carburetor underneath here. There it is, Holley 2-barrel. Interesting little piece. And again, 351. Now this is a Cleveland. That's another way of saying it has the canted valves, first seen on the 1969 Boss 302. Now, of course, the chamber volume and the valve sizing is going to be different, but these are pretty good breathing engines, even with the 2-barrel. 148 horsepower, by the way, was the net number. It was probably like 200 gross, which not a bunch, but not a bad thing. Now, this is a little bit off-putting to see these Chevy, 68 Chevy Impala hubcaps on this Ford. Come on now. But here's the Ranchero name, and we know that the Ranchero was the first American car pickup truck. Now, of course, in Australia, since the 30s, they had things called utes, but of course, Ford in 1957 launched the ute factor here in America, Chevrolet following in 59 with the El Camino. Now, there were, again, 5 generations of the Ranchero, and they all have this very useful load bed in the back. And the beauty here is that you have the comfort and the ride of a hardtop or passenger car with, the load carrying capability of a pickup truck. Now, the one thing about the 5th generation Ranchero, 70 through 79, is that these are body on frame. The earlier ones, based on the Falcon, the Fairlane, the Torino, were all unit construction cars. So again, this is the heaviest duty of them all. But here's the tailgate, comes down, goes up, and this one has a nice load of New England flora and fauna. But when this thing was new, well, these were examples of the sticker supercars of the 1970s. And let's go around to the passenger side for more proof on the GT heritage of this car. And right there on the glove compartment or above it, Torino GT. Now, the GT was, well, the performance version of the Ranchero. It began with the Ranchero 500, I believe it was, and then the Ranchero GT, and then the Ranchero Squire, which was the top-level vehicle. Now, check this out. Of about 23,000 Rancheros built in 1977, about half of them, or 12,000 or so, were GTs. So the GT was the most popular version of them all. Now, this one is an automatic, no stick shifts anymore in 77 up, all automatics. But again, that Ranchero GT is cool. Now that brings us to the driver's side and the dashboard, where the GT part of this thing really comes into play. This is where we should see, yeah, there it is. Okay, the full gauge package. If you look there, we'll see the 80-mile-an-hour speedometer. Not that exciting, but on the right-hand side of that, the tachometer, and all those mechanical gauges right there, which were very uncommon. Now, the LTD II is the parent vehicle of this, 1977 through 79 with the stacked headlights. LTD II was strictly a, sort of a bread and butter luxury car, not really all that exciting. So 99.9% would have just idiot lights. So to find a GT with mechanical gauges and a tachometer in something from 1977 is kind of special. And again, under the hood, this could have had a 400 small block, the 400M, but this one has the base 351 2-barrel, which was standard in the GT. Now, the lesser Ranchero 500 and upper Ranchero Squire would have had a 302. So at least Ford was kind of trying by giving the 351 engine standard equipment status in the GT. But again, the gauge package, standard. Okay, let's go down to the sticker here and have a peek there. This tells us some interesting stuff. Now this right here is the VIN sticker, so to speak. And the thing is, from 1970 up, Ford went from metal to plastic. These things here, and you can see here, it's been resprayed, but somebody thankfully covered that when they sprayed this car. Now let's read on the bottom here. We see here the color 1G silver metallic. We can see remnants of it behind right down here. So it was once silver metallic with the black GT stripe, pretty good looking car. The dealer sales organization 11 means Boston. Oh yeah, so it's a Rust Belt car. 97R, that means Ranchero GT 97R. So that's for sure, this is a GT. The gauges and the graphic on the dash were not added, the real deal. MS trim, I believe that just means standard deluxe interior. Let's see, axle. Oh, well, that's good. That's the 3.0 limited slip. Whenever you see a letter on the axle code, that means in Fordland, limited slip differential. So the O is a 3.0 9-inch. Kind of cool. Transmission W C4 automatic. Yeah, C4. The C6 was something available with the trailer towing package, but this thing has a C4 behind that 351 Cleveland. But again, it's not enough power to really mess it up. So really an unusual car. And keep in mind, again, of the 23,041 Rancheros sold in 1977, a total of 12,462 were GTs like this. And again, this would have had a pretty sexy GT graphic right down here. I remember as a kid seeing these things driving around New England. They were fairly popular. And again, about half of all 77 Rancheros were GTs. So whoever said performance was dead in the mid-70s was dead wrong. And you've got to remember, 77 was the year that Pontiac Trans Am sales finally exploded and got close to 100,000 units. So the government thought performance was dead. The public begged to differ. So that's the story of this 1977 Ranchero GT, basically Ford's final edition of the Ute. And of course, the El Camino continued into the 1980s, but Ford called it quits in 79 with the final version of the Ranchero. So if you like this video, well, be sure to subscribe to the Steve Maggs YouTube channel and stick around. There's lots more.